answers. Perfect. And I will be sharing my screen right now so we can all walk through the Miro board. Sharing now. All right, can I just get a yes in the Zoom chat if you're seeing the Miro board? It should be like a dark blue with some green shapes and a lot of sticky notes and boxes here. Just drop us a yes in the chat. All right, perfect. The screen share is working perfectly. Fantastic. So for those of you who just joined, because there's people joining every single second, welcome to Landing Your Dream UX UI Job expert panel. This event is made possible by collaborating with awesome companies such as Miro, Productboard, and Critical Mass, which are represented here by awesome panelists. And the organizer of this event is Just Mad Talent, co-founded by me and Theo here. We're going to talk about that in a little second, but yeah, just welcome everyone. It's really nice to have you here. And as I've already mentioned, we're going to be using this Miro board to interact and also talk in Zoom. There's two very simple rules that we ask of you as part of this event. One is please stay muted until we open up for Q&A. We're going to have a dedicated section for Q&A. And also please add your Zoom questions into the Zoom chat when prompted. As we're going to be going through the topics, please use the Zoom chat because that's where we're going to be centralizing all of these questions. And without further ado, I'm super happy to introduce our first panelist, Neil Cooper, and ask him to do us a very quick introduction of who Neil Cooper is. And yeah, Neil, the stage is all yours.
Thanks very much. It's great to be here. Great to kind of be part of this great panel. I'm Neil Cooper, Executive Creative Director for Critical Mass across EMEA and APAC. I'm involved in overseeing a team of 20 design, UX, copywriters, content strategists within London and EMEA. Really excited about kind of how the paradigm of brands is shifting and how we're really starting to think more about end-to-end experiences and our role in that. It's no longer the job of advertising or the brand agencies. I really feel it's our job to start to define how a brand behaves online and how that interacts across every touch point.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Neil. Next up, we have Sonia.
Hi, everyone. So nice to meet you all. And very, very pleased to be here. Thanks to Just Mad guys for organizing this. A bit about me, I have going on 8 years of recruiting experience. I've covered pretty much all sorts of areas, but my main focus has always been design and product on both agency and in-house side. I worked for a few hyper-growth startups with very, very high hiring demands, so I feel like I'm qualified to speak on how to best pass your interviews. And I always say that I kind of change the perception of recruiters one good experience at a time. So yeah, I'm super happy and excited to share my insights with you all, and hopefully you'll find it useful.
Thank you so much, Sonia. Next up, we have Stephen.
Hey everyone, Stephen Walker. I lead product in Europe at Productboard. If you're not familiar with Productboard, we make a product management platform where PMs, designers, engineers can capture feedback from users, prioritize what to build next, and then build a roadmap out. There are about 20 PMs and 20 designers spread across Europe. And I used to be a designer myself, but I sort of sold out and went the management track. But I talk to and review probably several hundred portfolios a year. And so I'm hoping to share some insights with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Stephen. Next up, we have Theo.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. I'm Theo. I'm co-founder with Raz in Just Mad. It's a new project where we try to put together awesome people like yourselves and amazing jobs across the world. Myself, I have around 10 years of experience, both in recruitment across the board within the IT industry and across the world, actually, and also worked in a couple of startups, managing everything in terms of HR and of course recruitment. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Theo. And last but not least, to give you a quick introduction of myself, my name is Raz. I am the co-founder and one of the talent matchers alongside Teddy in JustMad Talent. My experience lies in the UX and product design field. I've been doing this for the last 9 years, and I absolutely love it, and I have no intent of stopping. And one of my primary drivers is to help other designers thrive and find their way through this profession. And hopefully by the end of this event, the knowledge that I have and all the other panelists have will shine through and help you in your next job search. Now we would like to get a chance to know you. That's what I said, because we're going to allow you to enter the Miro board now. And just going to show you something real quick. We've created individual introduction cards for like a speed networking exercise. So I just had an example of myself here. So let's connect on LinkedIn. What I would like you to do is to go to your LinkedIn profile, just open that link up on your device, copy the URL, and just come back into the Miro board and paste it in one of these boxes. And also here at the bottom, just tell us something about a project you're most proud of. It's just 2 fingers of content. It doesn't have to be like a monologue, like a essay. Just for example, myself, I really enjoyed working on a road safety mobile app for the civilians of Yemen that were going through civil war, and it was really, really amazing getting the chance to work on something like that. Of course, try to not break NDA and just trying to be vague enough so you can pass by. So I'm just going to allow editing on the board. I will share this link with everyone in the chat. So there we go. It'd be great to have you joining us in Miro, and I should be seeing those cursors flying in any second now. And just
take the next 3 minutes to
look at that number go up. Perfect.
There they are.
Yeah, there they are. All right, just pick a card here and just paste your LinkedIn profile and just tell us a little bit about one of the projects that you're most proud of. And yeah, please can you folks just mute yourselves while we do this? Thank you so much. All right, just find a card that's free. It should be plenty available.
Pick a card, any card.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just going to paste the link here again, just in case. I'm sure there's more people joining that kind of missed that. Okay, perfect. There we go. Sorry. All righty. There we go. Look at all these colorful cursors. Copy your LinkedIn profile and just paste it in the Miro board, and that way you're going to get a chance to connect with other peers and exchange ideas with other people in your network. All right, folks, can you please mute yourselves if you haven't already? Sounds like a race. Someone's watching F1. All right, excellent. Thank you. Give it a little bit more time. I'm curious to see what's the project you're most proud of. Let's go, McLaren. Are there still people joining even at this time? All right, excellent. Welcome, everyone. It's great to see you here. For those of you who recently joined, we're doing introductions right now. We have a Miro board where we kindly ask you to go to. I've just pasted the Miro board in the chat once again. Please go ahead and add your LinkedIn profile and tell us a little bit about a project that you're most proud of. Maybe it was an app that you really enjoyed. Maybe it was an NGO that you worked on, or just an organization that overall you're really proud to have worked with. Look at all these busy bees. Looking great.
So many projects.
Yeah.
Looks great.
Excellent. All right, perfect. Try to wrap up your introduction. Just as a last call out for those of you who recently just joined, we have a Miro board where we're doing introductions. Just drop in your LinkedIn link or profile, and just in the box at the bottom, just tell us a little bit about the project that you're most proud of, something that you worked on. Great. All right, perfect.
I love the one about designing an app for creative people trying to connect and find events. That's a pain point I've always had, and I've moved around a lot, so it's always difficult to find new community. So Kristen, kudos to you. Well done.
Mm-hmm. All right, perfect. So folks, take a few more seconds to wrap up your introduction, and then we're excited to move on to the meat and potatoes of today's session and talk concrete advice around finding your next UX UI job. Right, there you go. A lot of great profiles. We'll make sure to connect with you and grow together. All right. Excellent. Perfect. Thank you so much, everyone, for doing introductions. I'm going to be locking the board now because we don't want to have any issues with moving elements around here. Excellent. Thank you so much. And now we are actually ready to start talking about concrete subjects. And Theo and I already prepared a few questions to prime these conversations. So as of right now, what you can do, you can either follow us in Miro or just sit back, relax, and watch the screen sharing in Zoom. It is completely up to you. And I will let Teddy kick things off with the first topic for today, which is searching for jobs. And Theo, yeah, stage is all yours.
So I guess first step in searching jobs is maybe the hardest, trying to figure out where to start from. And I wanted to ask our panelists, where should candidates look for the roles? Where is the first step that or first place they should go and check them out? I know there are plenty of platforms. Where should they start from? Sonia, maybe you can.
Yeah, absolutely. More than happy to start. Well, the first thought that I had is, I'll explain why. So I think a very good place to start is making a list for yourself of several brands or companies that you really like the look of, you admire the mission, you love the product yourself, and becoming a bit of a regular on their careers page, because that's the first place where these opportunities go, right? So definitely keep an open eye. Definitely don't apply for anything and everything that they post, but make sure that your experience or your ambitions align with the roles, and obviously LinkedIn as well. That's the first two places that come to mind where companies advertise.
Right. What do you think? Do you think that this stigma around when changing jobs is still there? When would be the right time for a person to do this step?
Yeah, I want to add like a little tiny detail there to maybe help our panelists with this. What are the things that a person should ask themselves in their current scenario, maybe a current job, or maybe they just finished a boot camp or a UX course, whatever that might be? What are the things that they should look into and say, okay, now is the time to do this? If maybe Stephen or Neil can jump in on this?
Yeah, there's a lot of thoughts on this. I don't remember who said this quote, but there's like a very famous quote about the best way to find new work is by doing a great job at your current job, right? And like, I think a lot of us get frustrated. I have had this happen too, and like I've made plenty of mistakes in my career where I was like, "F this, I'm out." I think if you're feeling that vibe, you gotta like take a cool kind of look at things and try to find a way where you're transitioning and not in like an emotional state. If it's really bad, then obviously exit, right? Like, but I would say that's kind of the first one is like, if you're feeling this vibe, you should take an inventory of like, why are you feeling this vibe? Is it like certain people? Is it how the work is done? Is it the type of work that you're doing? And really reflect on this, because if you don't do that, you're going to go to the next place, and chances are, unless you get lucky, you're going to have the same thing happen again. In terms of like the actual time, you know, if you've been somewhere, you know, only a handful of months or, you know, a year or 2 years, there isn't as much stigma anymore, but it will definitely come up. And so like, if you're starting to look and you've only been in a place for 3 to 6 months, I think you're going to want to do yourself a favor and really introspect on that, because it's going to come up in the conversations. Then I think beyond a year, you're usually in a safe spot, right? Like you've figured out, hey, this is not for me. I tried really hard. I tried to like make this work, and no one's going to fault you for saying, hey, like this is not the path for me. That's kind of my 2 cents on it. I think, Neil, you were about to say something.
Yeah, I think, you know, usually I think people don't generally move for money, although it's a great kind of motivator. But I think really kind of doing research into the place that you're going to actually see if you're going to get what you want. And I think kind of not putting up with what they're giving you, but I think you need to feel like you're in a position that you've got a lot to give, and the job spec or the, you know, the way that they may sell something into you may not be the reality of what you're getting yourself into. And I've definitely fallen into that trap, where everything looks so good on paper. It was like the dream job, and when you turn up, it's like, what the hell have I done? Like almost crying to go back to where you're from, because things are just terrible. So like I think don't get distracted by kind of, you know, rhetoric and people talking up a good game. I think you need to do your research. You need to see what kind of work they're doing historically. I think, you know, buying into someone's ambition of where they want to be in 3 years is not, it is great, right? If you want to be on that journey, but are they equipped to deliver upon that promise and those dreams and the here and now? I think you need to be really kind of clear with your expectations on that.
That's really, yeah. Yeah, Sonia, please.
Yeah, and I was going to say kind of on the completely other side as well, sometimes you never know when opportunities find you. So as a recruiter, for example, I do a lot of proactive reaching out to people who are not necessarily looking. But sometimes some of the most interesting, fruitful conversations that I have are with people who are passive and who maybe thought, oh, I'm not even thinking about switching. I'm really happy where I am. But then one thing leads to another, and then they become very, very excited about what's going on. So be prudent and pragmatic, absolutely, weigh your options carefully. But also I would advise to stay open and hear out things. It doesn't hurt to have a conversation, and you never know, you might find the next great thing for yourself.
Right.
That's excellent advice, folks. Thank you so much. And that strikes a quote that I've heard. I think it was Gary Tan who said that in a job or in a career scenario, you have to either learn. Ideally, you have to learn and earn. So it's the balance between developing yourself as a professional and also making the money that you need based on your finances and where you live and what kind of lifestyle you want to have. So he said that it's good to have one very, very, very well controlled. You either make a lot of money or you learn a lot, but ideally try to look for both, right? So find a scenario where you're satisfied financially, but where you also feel challenged. Because a lot of the frustrations that I've seen after talking with a lot of designers, that Oh, I'm working at a job that like they pay very well. Like the salary is fantastic, but I'm bored. Nothing really challenges me anymore. I really cannot find the thing that keeps me on my toes. It's basically just laundry work. You just do the same things over and over again, and things get repetitive, and you get comfortable, and you don't really sharpen your designer skills that much. So kind of, yeah, my piece of advice is trying to be aware of the learn and earn thing, and what is important to you at the current time, and if your current engagement satisfies that. Another interesting topic, I think we've kind of covered these first two, is people always ask, like, should I go to an agency? Should I go to a setup where I have to deal with maybe a large number of clients in a year, right? Because in an agency, you would probably just hop from one project to another. I mean, in most cases. Should I go to a startup? Should I go to a company that is maybe just newly funded and they're in kind of a hyper growth scenario, and you get a chance to see a product evolve from the beginning and kind of be part of that transition? Or the third scenario, being in an established business, like a big corporate environment, where you basically have the product or the experience or the service already exists. I just have to keep improving on it, and you have to deal with like many teams and a lot of different sub products or brands. So what are your folks? What's your thoughts on this? What advice you would give for someone that would ask, like, whether to go for an agency, startup, or like a big business?
How to figure out
what's right for you.
I'd love to go, if that's okay.
Yes, please. Yeah, go. Yeah.
Bursting with an answer for this one. So I've had the privilege to work at all of these as a recruiter in recruiter capacity, and as a recruiter, a decent one, you become a bit of an agony aunt for people, because one of the first questions I always ask is, why are you here? Why are we talking? Why are we having this conversation? And when I was working for a small business, people were saying, oh, I'm tired of being a tiny cog in a huge machine. We never get anything done. It's so slow. There are so many processes and levels and hierarchies and blah, blah, blah. When I worked for a big business, people were saying, well, we have no budget. There is no impact. We have 25 live customers, and I actually want to make a huge impact. When I was in an agency, people were saying, I'm really bored of working on the same thing for the last 7 years. And when I worked in-house, people were like, I just want to commit to one brand. So I guess what I'm saying is, you really have to look deep inside yourself and ask yourself the question, what is it that I want? And sometimes this question is not as easy to answer as you think, but you kind of have to be completely honest with yourself and say, okay, what kind of BS am I willing to put up with? Would I prefer the business to be slow or always changing and chaotic? Would I prefer to have loads of colleagues to communicate and work with and have my own little niche and own it? Or do I want to wear many, many hats and kind of do one thing one day and something else the other? So you really have to, I kind of have to put the question back onto the audience, because the answer will really depend on where you are and what you want. So do your research and be honest with yourself.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Thank you so much, Sonia. That's spot on. And Stephen actually added a very nice complimentary comment to that. So every place has its own shit. You just have to figure out which shit you're okay dealing with. So that's I think that's a very, very blunt way of putting it. And yeah, it's like straight to the point. Yeah.
It's kind of interesting, because like working in-house, like I've been in the industry for well over 20 years, but working in-house is like a dirty word. Like years and years ago, you just wouldn't do it. Like your friends had thought you died, and like what's happened to you? What's wrong with you? Like you failed, just go and become a teacher or something. But now I think there's so many great pieces of work coming out of agencies, out of in-house, and startups, and obviously kind of more product-led businesses. I think having that ability to be probably more hands-on, like learning on the job, it almost feels like some of those things feel a bit more of an apprenticeship, which I think when you're new into your career, having that ability to kind of do what you think is right and bring your full self to the table, I think you'll probably get there's definitely more opportunity to do that now than there was when I was trying to get into this industry.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thank you everyone for your contribution. Stephen, you wanted to add something to that? I think I've heard you.
I don't want to keep us too long here, but I think to connect back to your original point, I think the right place for you is where you're going to learn something. And so if there's something specifically you want to learn, in an agency, you're going to work, with really talented people on a multitude of projects. And so you're never going to, get bored, and you're going to pick up very different skills this way. And in the startup, you're going to have a ton of responsibility, and you're going to learn a lot about, really delivering product design end to end. And you're going to do a lot of things that you want to do in other places. And, in large established organizations, you're going to learn a lot about, managing larger initiatives with a ton of stakeholders, right? And a lot of perspectives and a lot of people to bring along the journey with you. And I think each of these three places, it's going to teach you something different.
Right.
That is really great advice. You want to add anything to that?
Not necessarily. I think that we've covered pretty well this part. Definitely important to know what you want, be true to yourself, and then just try to drill into all the opportunities that are out there, and don't let yourself be overwhelmed. I guess it's important, especially if you're at the beginning of your career. We'll be more than happy to answer questions later on, or we can connect and continue this conversation offline. But just for the time's sake, I think we should move towards the next topic, and that's applying for jobs, right? You've identified what you want, the direction you want to go. Now, how do you actually apply to jobs? I know that might be straightforward, but as a recruiter myself, there are so many instances where a lot of people fail this very first and basic step. And I'm sure I'm not the only person that felt this. So I wanted to ask our panelists what or how people should start, searching for the companies. What would be some of the first things they should pay attention when submitting an application?
I have a radical thing that I often share with people. It's just email someone. Like, don't read the blogs, don't go on Glassdoor, don't read the press. Go find someone who works there and reach out and just say, hey, I'm interested in working there. And the people that you want to work with, they will answer you.
That's a great advice. I love that.
Great.
Yeah, I actually want to second that, because quite a few interviews that I've held actually happened from people reaching out to my colleagues and saying, hey, I'm super keen, here is why, can you connect me with someone? And then I immediately get a Slack, can you speak with this person? They look relevant and interested. So finding your way kind of in via a person, is always a good way. Just be targeted about it, kind of be specific about what you want. Don't just say, I want to join, what do I do? Pick a position, be specific, say, this is why I'm relevant, and then try to go directly to people.
I guess this would be one of the ways to also stand out from the applicants. We all know that sometimes it happens to have a big a number of applicants. I guess this would be a great way to stand out. I know there are lots of mistakes that we do while writing up our resumes and applying. And I know it's a very covered topic, but maybe one or two hints that future candidates could pay a bit more attention to. What would you guys recommend? Either resume or portfolio related?
Yeah, we could tackle these two, together.
Yeah. So I just to kind of put you guys into the shoes of the recruiter and the hiring managers, because I'm obviously the first front, the filter, and then the second one is the HM. It still seems incredible to me, because it's very obvious to a recruiter, for example, but how people are rarely able to keep things clear and concise. So as soon as I see a CV that's kind of 10 pages long, I had a CV today that was 10 pages long, written in this teeny tiny font, and I had to still go through 120, 150 applications that same day. All of my desire to look through this person's experience dissipates immediately. So the ability to be concise and to the point is extremely important, especially when it comes to design and product. The way that you present the visual aspect of your work and your CV is very important as well. It's the first impression that you make. It needs to be well designed, it needs to look good, it needs to read well. Even things like contrast of the font in the background is sometimes it's something that people get wrong. And the way that I also put it about maybe the resume or your work, show it to someone who's not a designer, show it to someone who's a layperson, your auntie, your mom, whatever. They need to be able to understand what it is that you do more or less. It needs to be clear, avoid jargon. So yeah, like that kind of first impression, if someone can explain well and clearly and simply what they do, and if they present their work well, they're already head and shoulders above a lot of people that I see on a daily basis, to be completely honest.
I think the resume is really hard. Like I'm even now still struggling to get my CV down to less than like 4 pages or something. It's just ridiculous, and I definitely need to have a word to myself on that. But I definitely think, like, I find it incredible that I'll get some CVs through from people, and they over-index on the design of the CV. Like, they'll create this big personal brand, there'll be a big photograph of them on there, there'll be this kind of crazy font, you can't quite read it, and it's just like, let's just keep this really, really simple. Get the key points across. Let's just kind of not over-index and give everything away in the kitchen sink kind of within this. Give me a reason to want to get you in and have a conversation with you. And I think for me personally, like, the days have gone of, I don't care where you've been to university, I don't care where you've worked, I really don't give a shit. I really just want to know about you. And that for me is the thing I'm buying into at the end of the day. You're buying into me, I'm buying into you. Let's kind of try and find a way to you obviously get the key facts down, but just like, let me know what makes you tick.
Wow. That's great.
There's one little thing that I really want to add is a big pet peeve, I think, when it comes to portfolios or resumes that I have, is when a person starts listing on the resume, for example, just like a job description of a designer. It's like, I know this is what designers do. Talk about you. I want to know what you've done, what impact you delivered, what you have worked on. Don't say that you produced wireframes or conducted research, because that's what you're meant to do. Talk about yourself and what it is that you achieved. So it's easier for me to immediately understand whether you can make impact with us or not.
Absolutely.
This is excellent advice. Yeah. And I think this really carries on nicely into kind of a more in-depth conversation about portfolio. So resume is one thing, but as we all know, portfolios play a huge role in the decision-making process, especially at the application level of who moves forward and who doesn't. So from that point of view, from the portfolio standpoint, how can applicants really shine? What is it about a case study in a portfolio that can make a hiring manager or recruiter go like, okay, wow, I really need to take this person to the next level? Yes, Neil, please.
I've just got a few quick thoughts on this. So
yes, please.
Like Sonia was saying, you sometimes get so many CVs and portfolios through for a particular job. And I've reviewed a bunch of designers who apparently have all worked on the same brand, on the same piece of work. You've got the same stuff going through again and again and again. It's like, but what did you do on it? Like, did you design that? Did you do the art direction for the whole thing? Did you design that one component? Like, what was it that you did here? And I think the thing I'm looking for is, I want to see how people think. I want to see how people approach their work. I'd rather see 20 scribbles, which gets you under the skin of how somebody is thinking, how their brain works, how they're contextualizing the challenge and the problem. What is the insights that they came up with? Then show me a couple of screens of the final thing. But I would rather see, a stream of scribbles and see an evolution of an idea from the scribble to the finished thing.
Yeah, to build on what Neil is saying, I think you read all these articles and it's like, don't forget the process, you got to do it. I just looked at a portfolio this week, and it checks all of the boxes, but it's so boring.
Yeah.
And, I have a friend who used to be, sort of like the GM and designer at a podcasting app company. It was two people. It was him and an engineer. And he did everything. And his portfolio for it is the end polished work. And at the very bottom, he just has like a list of bullets. And he's like, basically, I did everything. And here's the outcomes, right? Like, obviously, so much went behind it. And so his portfolio is not about, hey, trust me, I'm a process guy. It's trust me, I can deliver really killer work, like work that wins awards, that's like in the top of the App Store, et cetera. And so I think you have to play to your strengths. And portfolios are kind of like marketing, which is you need to subvert what everyone else thinks they should be doing to stand out.
Yeah, that's awesome. And this like what you said, Stephen, like checking all the boxes. I feel like what is happening in the industry is because of the sexiness of the UX role, and everyone wants to be a UX designer because it pays well. There's a lot of companies looking for UX designers like every day. And as a result, of course, you get all of these boot camps and digital schools offering courses and 6-week programs that will turn you into UX designer. And I feel like what that led to is the templatization of portfolios. And basically there's one bootcamp created like an article like, okay, this is how your portfolio should look like. Oh, your process, and we'll show the screens and then what you learn. And as you said, like when people see this article, you just end up with bootcamps borrowing the same format. And then you end up with, I don't know, 100 alumni from these courses that have the exact same portfolio, the exact same structure. And then things just get boring really, really quick. Yeah, I think is some great advice that you've added in here, right? And kind of keeping an eye on the chat here. Someone asked, like, are recruiters reading the cover letters before or after looking at our CV and portfolio, or not at all? I'm curious which one has more power. And yeah, just reading from the answers here, that most cover letters are so bad we just ignore them. If you're going to include it, make it special. And then also Sonia said that at this point cover letters are redundant. Don't bother. Make them your portfolio. Make sure your portfolio is the best you can make it. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're choosing the kind of quality over quantity method for your application, just make sure that your CV and portfolio can in some way at least relate to the job posting or the company that you work for. I would much rather you spend time on that rather than write this cover letter that is pointless anyway. Like, I know that you want a job, I know that I need to hire, let's get onto this. Like, let's not waste each other's time. So I would say absolutely just put your energy and effort. If a company still values cover letters, they probably have no way, like they're living in the past. Do the portfolio instead.
Yes, awesome. Totally agree with you, Sonia. Great. Just trying to move forward. What do you guys think was the best way to approach a recruiter? You see the job, you see the person that, or the people that are recruiting for this role. How should candidates reach out to us? What are the best ways?
Yeah, I guess I can, if we're talking about recruiters' perspective. I mean, I always like when people message me, but to be honest, that's me. I know that some of my teammates find it a little annoying because it takes a lot of time to write a personal answer to everyone. It takes a lot of time, especially when you have to deal with such a high volume of applicants. But if a person writes me a message that is genuinely thought out, and they're just not just saying, I want to work for you, do something for me. But if a person genuinely takes time to research the company or match themselves against a particular role and put some effort into the reach out, I will always do my best to maybe give them a personalized message or a response. So I don't mind being DM'd, but I think everyone is different. I think honestly, the best thing you can do, especially at high growth, large companies with a lot of applicants, is just make a very good application. And if you're right, they'll get back to you.
Awesome. I can add a little bit here. Like I had a mentor once that kind of told me, like, always try to take one step further than anyone else. Like, what would a person do if they just want to reach out to a bunch of recruiters? Just going to create like a boilerplate message, copy paste, and then expect like throwing something on the wall and hoping it sticks, right? The way I would do this, and it applies whether you're doing like reaching out to a recruiter interested about a job or a potential client. Like maybe you find a company that you want to pitch. I think this applies in both cases. Is going like that's that extra step of being genuine and really specific is creating a 1-minute video. Just take a camera. Your iPhone camera is plenty. Like cameras are so good right now. Just put on a tripod on your table and just say like, hey, my name is XYZ and I just saw you guys have some open positions. I would absolutely love to learn more about the organization and apply, and just maybe outline a few things about yourself. The fact they just took that time to create a more personalized, I really give a damn attitude will shine through, and people will appreciate that. And it's worked wonders for me. For example, when I wanted to pursue a potential client, I would just create this customized video, use their name, use the company's name, so it doesn't feel like I kind of engineered it in a weird way. And I think it just speaks to how genuine you can be. That's yeah, my 2 cents. That really has worked for me. Awesome, perfect. And also someone asked in the chat whether what's better, like an online portfolio or a PDF. I would honestly go for online, mainly because maybe a recruiter is commuting and you send an online portfolio, they might review it on their phone. A PDF, just zooming in and out might be a little bit hard. Plus, it helps you with SEO. If you create like an online portfolio, you get indexed by Google and all of that. So yeah, I think online works better. That's my 2 cents. And also Sonia said the same thing. Yeah, if Neil or
is there even a reason why you'd want a PDF portfolio anymore? Neil, do you want PDF portfolios?
Honestly, I don't mind. I definitely prefer, I would definitely prefer a website, obviously, but I think sometimes the speed in which you need to get people in, just being able to click, go through, get a sense of, yes, let's have initial conversation.
Yeah. I
actually don't mind that. But you know, I would prefer an online thing. It just seems more obvious, right? I'm going for a job in this industry, so therefore I'm demonstrating that I have the ability to put something very basic together.
Mm-hmm. All right, excellent, perfect. So with that, I think we can actually add a category here for like tools and resources. Are there any like tools or SaaS products they would recommend for either maybe tracking jobs or any resources for building portfolios? I'm just going to add one here. It's like Sempless, I think is a really great resource for people that just want to spin up a portfolio website really quickly. I would highly recommend that one. If there's any tools that you folks would recommend.
I think, yeah, simply Squarespace is pretty good, pretty easy. I use Squarespace personally. I just find it really intuitive and quick.
Mm-hmm.
Use the platform that very few people are using.
Okay.
So when I got my start, I was using this platform called Carbon Made.
Mhm.
And I actually know the guys. They were based out of Chicago and New York, and I became friends with them. And they put me on the like featured product designers or web designers or something like that. And I got tons of traffic and people reaching out to me because I was like one of the first people that was on it. And it's like, is it the best tool? No. Is it made for product designers? No. It's like made for people who don't know how to do anything on the internet. But I think like you want to be a big fish in a small pond. You don't want to be a small fish in a big pond. So like, you know, you can use Behance, but everyone's on Behance.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much, everyone. Now we have, moving forward, we want to do a quick portfolio review. We want to thank you, first of all, everyone that was eager to have their portfolio reviewed. I think we have around 50 people that wanted to have their portfolio reviewed. Awesome portfolios. We decided to go with a portfolio where maybe we can give a bit more insight and wasn't necessarily 100% perfect. So
Yeah, sorry.
Rez here will go to the ones that we've selected and give you a bit more feedback on how to and what works or what can be improved.
All right, perfect. So just to be able to showcase this, I'll have to stop the screen share and turn it on again. We're just going to do a quick round. So panelists, let's just take the time to look at the portfolio, just kind of look through it. And as we progress, Just let us know what you think. So imagine you're at the office, you're hiring for a designer, and then L Yoon here has submitted this case study for you to review. And as we're going through it, just let us know what your thoughts are, what your impressions are on the portfolio, and how it can be improved. Can you just get a thumbs up from the panelists to make sure that you can see the screen? All right, excellent. Let's do it. All right, so let's have a look. We have an overview here called the product is called Honest, shopping companion app that inspects skincare products for safety. Okay. We have some information here about the background. It seems that this person has attended a UX design program, and this is a capstone project. A few details here. So what was the scope, platform, the problem? And yes, panelists, at any given point, please let me know what you folks think, if you want to focus on a particular area, and we can provide feedback to this particular case study. We have an outline of the problem, the solution. So it seems like this person decided to kind of start with the problem and also show the final product and its main components, focusing on product discovery here, product identification, product analysis.
Maybe I can give me a first impression, because I will leave the technical stuff to the pros. But if, let's say, I was to see this portfolio, so the way that I evaluate both designers and product people, I think it depends on what kind of level we have them aligned against. If someone's a little bit more junior, I'm looking for craft, creativity, and presentation and kind of clarity of your work. When we start to go a bit more senior, I'm thinking more like strategy and leadership and kind of that kind of thing. So far what I'm seeing is it's definitely easy on the eyes. It's easy to read. It's quite clear. It's nice to look at. And I like the kind of visual aspect. It has definitely a certain individual style to it. So I'm definitely staying on this one a little bit longer. And I like seeing the explanations of what is going on, what are we looking at here, because a lot of the time you really cannot tell. So yeah, so far so good. I'm with this one for now.
Yeah, same. The fact that these elements here of this overview, kind of 1 through 4, like product discovery, and the fact that it's animated really makes me feel like, oh, they actually didn't just create static screens. They thought about the interactions, navigating from one screen to another. I think that's really well done, kind of doing that effort to create this these animations or GIFs, just to make it a little bit more dynamic. I think that's great. And yeah, I think it's, as Sonia said, easy on the eyes. There's not a lot of visual clutter. So yeah, and we know we keep hearing these things that you just spend like a few seconds to get like a general first impression, and then you decide like, oh, am I going to continue with this or not, right? So yeah, it's also a vote of confidence from my side as well.
I think one important thing to remember though is all the designers here, what you have to understand is the portfolio is not reviewed in a vacuum. It's reviewed in the context of a project, the company, the requirements. So for example, while let's say if I was a recruiter working with both Neil and Stephen, and this is the portfolio that I got, I could have gotten different responses on the same portfolio, because if we're say hiring for like a brand campaign or product job, they will be very different. So if you get rejected from one position, don't be discouraged, because you might just be the wrong shade of purple for the painting that they're trying to make. So yeah, it's contextual.
Yeah, that's a very great point. Kind of not feel discouraged if maybe you get a refusal, and the shade of purple, I think, example is great.
I think
yep. Neil,
I was going to say it's kind of like extremely thorough. It feels a bit like a labor of love, and someone's definitely poured their heart and soul into that, which is great. And I think, just kind of like reading through it, I think you've got a kind of the sense of what the challenge was and what you've done in terms of the solution. And then I feel like, that's great. That's almost like enough. And then we go back into like a really deep dive. So maybe just like, it could be sequential in terms of, this is the insight, this is the research, this is what the competitors do, this is the opportunity space, this is how we approached it, and this is the final thing. You could cut this in many different ways. I think just in terms of just maybe some of the labeling a little bit. What I did in this project in 30 seconds kind of thing. You read through, you get it, you understand. You got a little bit more time, knock yourself out. But it's beautiful. It's great. You're looking for a job? It looks awesome.
Well, that's why this event exists, to connect people with their opportunities. So I actually saw El Yun, she's online and didn't expect to get selected. So she's excited for the constructive feedback. So she's here. She's listening. So far, El, great job based on what you heard from the panelists. And yeah, I think this kind of just giving you like a few seconds to get a quick overview of what's going on and then being able to deep dive is great. And this reminds me of a very nice example of how a UX designer treats his portfolio as a product. It was really nice that at the beginning of the portfolio, you would have to choose like short version, long version. And it would say like short version, 3 minutes, long version, 15 minutes. So it's really nice kind of UXing your own portfolio and allowing someone to say, oh, I want to go with the short version. That means just basically condensed and hide and show certain content. So I think that's a very nice and neat trick that I've seen. And kind of this reminds me of that. So all great so far. And kind of diving a little bit deep into the specifics of the process, we know like this is step one, the research, secondary research. There's something that off the bat that makes me super confident in the work that you've done is you added the source of all of these stats. I think that is just fantastic. Really cite where you found that information, so you can go ahead and know it's valid. I think that's a great addition. And let's explore. Yes,
I cheated a bit and I went to the website because I wanted to see it in context to everything.
Okay.
And there's something that was hard for me to understand at first. So I was trying to disambiguate what was your style versus what was the brand here, because the style of the website is actually very similar to the branding of the app. And in the documentation under section, it's where you talk about the brand. Under 3, with the visual identity, right? You talk about the brand's essence and these sorts of things. I would almost kick off the intro with that. It's like, how do you stand out in a consumer market when your brand is X, Y, and Z, and you're very simple, and the competitors are these wild, colorful things that are eye-catchy, right? And then like, because it's obvious you get the process, but you made very specific design decisions along the way to like come into the brand, and you feel it through the entire thing. And I would actually emphasize that over the process, because it's clear, like you get the process. You went to school, you're awesome, you get how to execute. But what's really interesting is the creative choices that you made in order to bring the brand alive in the app itself.
Yeah, it's a very, very great point there, Stephen. Yeah, and I +1 on that. Yeah, and yeah, please.
Sorry, one more thing. So then I went to your projects to see like, is that just your style? And it's not. Like your other project in there is very different, right? And so like, I would really emphasize that, especially to someone who's reviewing. It's a very different story to tell, that it's not, because it's so similar to the visual language of your site, it might be confusing at first. So to really tell that story, I think is an amazing one.
Yeah. Agreed. Any other thoughts on El's case study, folks? I think this is just one comment here, and it kind of connects with what Neil mentioned. Like, I want to see this scribbled. I want to see like how you got to these final wireframes. It's great to kind of see the creative process a little bit of how you kind of thought of these things. Yeah, just something that I think it could be a little bit more visual from that sense. But yeah, it's not a ground-shattering observation. Any other thoughts, folks, on this?
I probably wouldn't read all the copy. I'm not going to lie. I'd probably skim it and kind of just try and get a sense of, reading top to bottom, scroll top to bottom. Does it look nice? That's very superficial, but does it look beautiful? Is it, you know, is the end result kind of matching the initial kind of insights and brief? Then I'll probably go back and dip in and out kind of as I go back up the page. So although it's great to go into this level of detail, you could maybe save this for a face-to-face presentation.
That's great. And yeah, great point, Neil. And I just want to say that in a little bit of personality, I can actually see it shine through. It is all the way to the bottom. Like, I'm notorious for being a perfectionist, on like focused on small details. Like, tell me a little bit about the personality of the person who created this. So I think that's yeah, that's a nice touch. Excellent. All right, perfect. So all in all, Elle, you've done a great job with your case study. And as you've heard, if you're looking for career opportunities, you should definitely stick till the end of the session, where our panelists will talk about some of the reasons why you should consider joining their companies. And it's also available for everyone else in the call. So excellent. Great clap for Elle, a really great case study. All right, perfect. So let's move on with our Miro session. Let me just open up real quick. All right, and carry on with the last topic that we have for today. And oh, things got moved a little bit here, which is, of course, interviewing. And as you can expect, that is a hot topic that I think everyone wants to learn more about. So panelists, how would you say people should prepare for a first interview? What are some check boxes that they should look into?
Do a dry run and turn on QuickTime and record yourself first, because I think pacing is the #1 thing that for some reason, so many people don't have. And if you can't present your portfolio, how do I expect you can present work to stakeholders?
Yes. Very well said.
Wow, yeah. Perfect. And
There's
yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Sonia. Yes, please.
No, I was going to say there's a lot you can do for sure, but I think what I really appreciate. So let's say I'll take myself as the first interview. When a person can give me a specific legible answer to their motivation and what they're looking for. And there is a list of kind of canned answers that I really don't like hearing from people, because it just makes everyone sound the same. But definitely know why you're interviewing with this company. These days, startups, tech companies, they're looking for that in specific investment. I guess I hate that word, but passion for the product or interest in the product. Definitely do research, show it that little bit of extra. Don't just turn up and say, I need a job, hence I'm here. Just make sure that you do a little bit of reading, a little bit of watching, a little bit of research. And also, yeah, be specific about what makes you tick. Don't just say, oh, I want to grow, I want to learn. Everyone does. Everyone wants to breathe and drink water once in a while. Make me understand who you really are.
Yeah, I think they're all really good. I think the research thing, it's incredible how many people turn up for an interview and couldn't name one piece of work you've done. It's kind of like, why, like one of the questions I'll ask is what, you know, what's your favorite piece of work of ours? And I'll be like, oh, well, you know, and stumbling along. And it's just like, I don't know why you want to work here if you don't understand exactly what we do. You know, we could be, I don't know, doing something terrible, but for all you know, but, and also, I think that making sure, yes, you do a run through, but making sure that if you're going through a presentation deck or through your website, what are the key things you want to get across, and just almost keep it to, you know, talk about the work, the brief, the insight, how you've approached it, the impact you've had. Sure, it's almost, you know, those 3 to 4 points. Allow yourself almost like try and second guess what those questions might be, kind of basically, and make sure you've got kind of answers lined up for those for each of the projects.
This is like, you don't want to waste anyone's time, but you might want to apply to a job that you don't really want just to go through the process. Like, it's kind of a really bad thing to say out loud, but
oh, Stephen.
but like, you know, you're gonna need some practice. Like if you don't have practice, there's only one way to do it. And like if your first outing is with something that you're super passionate about and you bomb, it's gonna hurt so much. But like if you just go and like get the reps in, and like if you don't want to do it that way, like because of you feel ethically bad, like try to find a friend or somebody who will like do a mock interview with you.
Yeah.
But like, you know, in the exploration process, you know, even in my own career, there's places I talk to and, you know, I'm interested, right? It's not as if I'm wasting their time, but like, I'm not going to be heartbroken, you know, if they say no, or I don't end up liking it. And you just, the reps help you so much.
Yeah, just a quick addition to that. Interviewing is a skill. And it's a skill that's entirely separate from your on-the-job skill. And I've seen so many people who are brilliant on paper, high achievers, incredible career, could not talk their way through interview. And I've also seen the other side, people who are excellent bullshitters and can fly their way through any interview and they turn up and they can't deliver. So it's a skill that can be taught in a sense. It goes both ways for sure, but be sure that you can practice it, you can get better. But you can only do it by doing so. It depends on your personality as well. Are you introvert, extrovert, shy, not shy? So just be sure to kind of invest some effort into teaching yourself how to be good at it.
Wow, this is some very, very, very good insight, folks. Thank you so much. And kind of going a little bit towards the topic of technical interviews, speaking directly to people who have been designers and actually did the craft themselves. What are some things to keep in mind when taking part in technical interviews? And I think this goes really well with the whiteboard challenges. So I'm just gonna quickly shift these two just in case we have common topics. So technical interviews and whiteboard challenges. What are some things to consider there? How to prepare for those? What are some?
What's a technical interview? Is this like a secret? Should designers code?
Yeah, but we encountered this topic to our various conversations. The technical interview is sort of in between the first conversation with the recruiter and before the whiteboard challenge. So just talk to like a senior designer and they kind of ask you a few basic technical things.
Okay, sorry, I was reading too literally into the word.
Yeah, that's fine.
Neil had a really good point. I think connecting to Neil's point, you want to show how you go from a bad idea to a great idea. Like once you've made it to this stage, like I don't want you to run through your like 2 projects in your portfolio again. I don't want to hear about your CV. Like I want you to like pop the hood and like show me the dirt. Like go back, like if it was a sketch file from like 5-6 years ago, go back and pull that up and like be like, look how bad it was at first, and like look how we got here. And talk about the struggles and what you learned. And like, you know, the design squiggle, there's a variation of that, which is like you start on this branch and you try all these options and you find out that's not right. And you go back and you start a new branch, you try all these options. Like that's what you want to talk about during those sort of like technical conversations. It's like, can you actually, you know, walk the talk?
Awesome. Neil, what about you? What's your take on these kind of technical interviews, whiteboard challenges? Anything else apart from what was already mentioned?
The only, I guess, kind of less technical, but the only time that's really been relevant when I've been interviewing is when we've set a brief and we have a response to that brief. So we may give the creative a week or 2 weeks or so to kind of to come up with a response. And
like a take-home task.
More of a take-home task. I've never been in an interview where we've asked somebody to get on a whiteboard and start sketching something out. It's just not something that I've been involved in, but definitely in terms of going away and getting the brief. And I think for me, there's just a really easy format of being able to kind of like present your thinking. And I think, we've touched on it. So what's the brief? What's the insight? Where's the white space? What are your initial thoughts? What the competitor's doing? You can almost get away with a kind of like 10-page presentation, without boiling the ocean.
Right.
And then coming up with a solution, and then thinking about how does this live in other channels. And I think that's something we do as an agency. So if we're designing an app, if we're creating a brand campaign, it's never just about an app. It's about activation. It's about awareness. It's about how do we bring people back? It's about, you know, what would the TV spot look like? What would the billboard look like? So I want to see breadth of thinking. I want to see end-to-end thinking. I don't just want somebody to answer a brief about a new app or a new product or service. I want them to think end-to-end.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. And an interesting and things that if you go to like how to prepare for your interview is people are kept being told like prepare your questions, because this is a two-way street. Just don't just go in there and like oh hit me up with questions, I'll do my best to answer them. It's an exchange. You also have to ask your own questions. What from your experience are some really good questions that people can prepare and they can ask a recruiter or a technical person or a hiring manager?
How do decisions get made?
Mm.
This is a hard question, right? And like most of the people are going to give you BS answers. This is a really important thing for you. I would say the other part of this as a designer is like ask what design means to the company. And you can really tell if it's a company that values design or if it's a company that just, you know, wants some people to like churn out some ads.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely have some stuff to add here. I mean, firstly, prepare questions. For the love of God, prepare questions. Because again, it seems obvious maybe to us, but so many times I will go out, and this is the first touch point for a person, and we'll finish and I leave 10 minutes at the end, maybe even 15. Now is your time to ask questions. They're like, oh no, everything is clear so far, thanks, great. Immediate red flag to me about a person. That just shows that they were not necessarily listening or haven't done enough reading. But next level, if you want to answer good questions, maybe refer back to what you heard a person say. That shows that you're genuinely listening and processing what they're saying. Don't ask anything. I don't really like the question, what's the culture like? Because what is culture? Do we have a ping pong table, or how do people communicate with each other? And there's their trust and reliability. Be specific. And yeah, come with kind of as many as you can and make them specific to you, your growth, your progression. But yeah, please do ask questions and ask them every step of the way. It's as much of a chance for you to interview the company as it is for us to interview you.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think kind of asking questions which align with your own moral compass and your own values as well is really important. An example is we were looking to get in a creative team to work on a brief for Diageo, one of the brands we're working with, and they didn't want to work on alcohol brands, which is absolutely fair enough. And there's some brands that you might just not want to work with. It could be oil, gas, alcohol, cigarettes. So I think really understanding what company you're going into, what they're prepared to do for money at the end of the day is kind of interesting.
Right. Well, there's some really great knowledge. I really see people here asking questions, and that perfectly makes sense to see that people are curious. I feel like we've covered a lot of the topics that we still have ready here. I do have one more question that I'm really curious about, and that is, how do you justify the gaps in, for example, your employment history, or like short job or like quick changes? What are your thoughts as recruiters and hiring managers and people who talk to candidates potentially every single day? How could people prepare for this question? Like, oh, I see you've worked for 2 months at that company and then left. What happened? What are some tips and tricks here?
Be honest.
Mm.
And be prepared.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think being honest.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
Go ahead, Neil.
No, go on. I interrupted you.
I think as a hiring manager, I'm totally down for you to tell me that it just wasn't right for you and that, you know, you had to make a change. Or like, I hired someone in a different career path recently, and when I did the reference calls, one of his references was like, you know, I had to let him go. And I was like, I know, and we talked about it, right? And it's like, sometimes the situation isn't right for that person, and it shouldn't be this like
to get
noose
penalized
around
for
their
it.
neck.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the rest of their lives. And so like, you also want to work at a place where the hiring manager is not an asshole to you. So like, if you really feel like they are an awful person that you can't be honest with, it's like, why do you want to be there? Like, you should be able to be like, look, like, I'm not proud of this. Here's what happened. And, since then I've done X, Y, and Z, right? And if it's just gaps, like, don't even just be like, I was working on a book or I was doing side projects. Like, if gaps are gaps, like, as long as you were doing something productive along the way. We live in modern times. Like, I think the gaps are easier if you're just honest about them.
I think sometimes you just get to know somebody a bit better as well from understanding where those gaps are. It's been an incredible time where so many people have been made redundant recently. Some people have been let go. Some people have been put on furlough, and it's not been easy times. And some people have been able to cope with that. Some people haven't. Some people have done side hustles, and some people have been, desperate to to take anything that they possibly could to keep the lights on. So I wouldn't be too concerned about it. I think there's always a story to tell, and hopefully everyone learns from that, and can kind of evolve and kind of be better kind of for it.
Yeah, just a quick addition from me as well, as someone who unfortunately has to make snap decisions about people on a daily basis. As a recruiter, I'm also completely not against kind of gap or someone changing. I always know there's a story behind a story. I think the only time it would become a concern if I see it becoming a repetitive pattern in someone's career, because that's when I immediately start thinking, can this person not perform? Can they not hold down a job? Or do they have a difficult personality? So I think if it depends on how frequently it happens and when I speak to them, what kind of signal I'm getting. So if you feel like it's becoming a pattern for you, maybe it's time to reevaluate and think about where exactly you're joining and why, and are you really thinking carefully about the offers that you're accepting. But yeah, no, I think this stigma is starting to fade away for sure.
Awesome. Folks, I'm overwhelmed with the amount of information here, and I truly believe a lot of the people in the audience are really, really happy to have joined the event and learn from your experience. And just in the interest of time, because we're already over the time that we initially planned on staying, so we thank all the panelists for sticking around. We're just going to take a few questions from the audience. Kind of, you've heard us talk about these topics about searching for jobs, applying, interviewing. What are some specific questions that you folks might have? And one of them in the chat was actually, do you think companies will be okay with customized tests or case studies? I believe what this is meant to ask is potentially you go in at a company and say, okay, can you give me a challenge on your actual product? And actually trying to come up with a solution for a real problem. What do you think?
Wait, so what's the question?
Yeah, yeah. Do you think a company will be okay with customized tests or case studies if we ask for it?
Like, if they weren't doing that already and you want to do that as something to demonstrate?
Yeah. I believe that is what the author meant to say.
Yeah, I think so. Like, I mean, the hiring process is about finding evidence, right? And so if you are offering up a way that could provide someone evidence of how you think and your talents, so much of any job is less about the like specific, can you draw boxes and add colors to them? And it's really about the thinking, and it's how you go from the problem into the solutions. And so any kind of activity you can do that provides that evidence, I think, not everyone is going to say yes to that, but most people are probably flexible.
Mm-hmm.
I think also the tricky thing here is that the reason where there's case studies is because there is a more or less concrete scorecard or a way to evaluate them. And when you do a personalized one, you're kind of venturing into a bit of a free realm territory. So the hiring manager will need to be confident that they know how to evaluate it and compare it to other people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Excellent. Kind of looking at the questions here. So Marie asked, like, can we talk a little bit about case study presentations and how long should it really be? And how much should the candidate cover. We already touched this subject in the boxes above, so you can go ahead and check the comments there. But if you have a more specific question, we're happy to take it. And someone asked, like, is there something that immediately says no when you look at someone's portfolio?
Comic Sans, I don't know.
Definitely Comic Sans. I think sometimes sounds a bit harsh, but having lots of recommendations from people, or kind of, you know, having lots of how fantastic this person is, like, you know, you get the LinkedIn recommendations. It's almost like, you know, I've seen some examples of people, you know, getting testimonials. I'm just like, oh, just like, no, it just feels a bit self-indulgent.
Okay, excellent. And then another person asks, let me just turn off the cursors. When applying to a job position in order to stand out, is it a good idea to personalize your resume with that of the company personalize your resume with that company's brand identity? So if I'm applying to Miro, should I make my resume look like Miro, like apply the Miro brand to it?
I think it depends. I think if I've actually had a couple of candidates turn up to calls with me and they set like a virtual background to a Miro logo, I think it is quite sweet. To be honest, it does show a lot of effort. Just, yeah, don't take it too far. Don't take it into corny territory. But maybe for Miro specifically, it would be a good idea to put your resume into Miro, for example, or make like a nice visual presentation. It's like that person that made a little video game out of their CV. It kind of went viral a few years ago, if you remember. So I personally think it's cute, but I know that maybe some people would think it's a little corny.
Yeah.
I'd say no, personally. I'd be like, stop it. Just like, stop right now. Just like, this is about you, not about us.
Right.
Different approaches.
Yeah.
It's a matter of taste, I think.
Yeah, of course.
All right,
So,
excellent. And I'm sure you folks have tons of other questions. I don't see any more in the chat because we covered a lot of ground. Just in kind of ending, trying to stay in the 1 hour 30-minute mark. I would now like to allow each of the panelists to talk us a little bit about their open roles, and we've added in the board links to respective open positions, but maybe just a few seconds pitch from each panelist on why you might consider joining their company, and we'll kick off with Sonia, and hopefully some of you will be interested in taking a peek of what open positions Miro has today.
Yeah, thanks so much, Raz. But yeah, I was going to say thank you everyone for attending and for your thoughtful, wonderful questions. So I joined Miro because I genuinely believe Miro is kind of future of work and future of collaboration. We're not just a remote working tool, we're an online collaboration tool for all sorts of teams and all sorts of people. And I pretty much uplifted my life and moved to Amsterdam for this company. So I definitely have a lot of faith in it. But what we're building is actually a highly complex product. We're building basically an infinite board for infinite number of people. So at the moment, what we're looking for is a bit more on a senior end, but we're looking for both designers and product people to be based whether in Berlin or Amsterdam. So if these two locations appeal to you, definitely get in touch with us. And what we can promise is a lot of growth, a lot of freedom. We're going to try to keep kind of as flat as possible for as long as possible. So you will have visibility all the way to C-level. And I hate to say it, like I hate that phrase, but we do genuinely have wonderful culture. And I absolutely love the people that I work with. They're so smart, so genuine. Raz, you guys have been with us for such a long time, so you can attest to it. So yeah, I mean, get in touch with me. There's my details on the page. Hit me up on LinkedIn. I'll do what I can for you. If you want some feedback as well, more than happy to do that. And thanks for your time and for coming.
Thank you, Sonia, for making the time to assist this great community. Next up, we have Neil. I could do a quick pitch on critical mass and why people should join you.
Yeah, sure. So critical mass, we're more so positioned within Canada. Actually, we're a Canadian company, so we are kind of, our heart and soul is Canadian. And we're very much kind of focused around North America. London is our only UK office. We're relatively small, but we're growing. there's been a bit of a change of leadership across the business, and I think that's it's really exciting in that, you know, people are at the forefront of everyone's mind. I honestly believe we're working towards creating a company that represents the world in which we live in. You know, over 50% of our leadership are female, and locally we actively hire people that, you know, are from many different kind of ethnic backgrounds too. So we're really trying to champion that change. We're work with people like Brixton Finishing School, and we want to welcome people who haven't been necessarily to university. We do a real broad range of work, from Super Bowl lads to, like, if anybody's ever put Apple in their in a presentation, we do all of Apple. We've got over 100 people in Cupertino working on Apple. We do Night Globally advertising. We work on big car brands, and we're trying to get London on the map, to be honest. We've been here for a while, so there's an opportunity for us to really start punching above our weight and start to feed ourselves rather than rely on mom and dad over in it's an exciting time to join.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Neil. So definitely check out what the open positions they have. And Stephen?
Hey guys, both Miro and Critical Mass are great places. So I feel like everyone here has amazing opportunities. At Productboard, at the moment, we have several different roles open for product design. We have one focused on design management, leading a team of product designers. If you're on the more senior end of the spectrum, we have a design systems team. And so we have, I believe, 2 openings on this team. And so these people are working on, you know, all of the UI patterns that are used across our product. And then we have product designer roles open. And so you'd be, you know, in a cross-functional team working on specific problems for our customers. I'll drop a link in the chat. Highly suggest that you take a look there. And I'll also put my email. If you want me to give you feedback, I'm happy to do that. So there were just these layoffs recently at many tech companies. And even if we don't have roles open, I often just reach out to the people and say, hey, like, I'll give you feedback on your CV. I'm not going to hire you, but like, I want to help you out. And so like, I can give you guys the same promise. Like, I can't guarantee you a job, but I can guarantee you that I will help you on your journey.
Excellent. And with that, we really want to thank Sonia, Neil, and Stephen for joining us. Glad for you guys. Have done an amazing job, and I think the folks over here in the audience really enjoy that. Folks, can you just drop a thumbs up or a yes or a flame emoji, something to kind of let us know how helpful this session was to you. What that was like. Oh, we have people dropping reactions in Miro. That is awesome. And just in closing, before we wrap everything up, I just want to let you know that the board will be available to you. So we will be sending this over to everyone that registered a ticket. And before I just wrap up, just want to tell you a couple of words about JustMed Talent and what we do over here. So alongside Teo, as I've said, we are on a mission to connect UX and product design professionals with their next opportunity. Basically, what we do in this format, and this is absolutely free for talent, we help you with career guidance, finding any job opportunities. You just let us know like what companies you'd like to work for, or even if you haven't made up your mind, we can help you find those companies. We can help you with interview prep and coaching, portfolio reviews, similar to what we've done here today. So yeah, if that sounds like something you're interested in, and it doesn't have to be like immediate, you don't need to be looking for a job for the next 3 months. You can be looking just to get advice and tips and tricks around this and just some career guidance, or just need someone to bounce ideas off of. You can join our network. Yeah, you're gonna need to scan the QR code or fill in the form. We'd be happy to connect with you. And with that, we actually reached the end of our panel conversation, landing your dream UX UI job. You folks have been amazing. Thank you so much. Just drop a quick reaction or a thank you in the chat to show your appreciation to the awesome panelists that were here today. And yeah, we hope everyone is doing okay. Enjoy the summer. Good luck at your job, or maybe potentially soon to be interview. And we wish you an amazing rest of your day. Thank you so much, folks, for everything.
Thank you. Looking forward to seeing you again. Bye.
Ciao, everybody.
Have a great day. Ciao. Bye-bye.